Hey guys, so here bringing you another video and welcome to another dev blog update. So I've just got back from vacation. They released these, as you can see, 23 hours ago, and I'm recording it to be uploaded this weekend. I think probably Sunday's second video. But there is two blogs that we're going to go through. There were technically three. The third one was about them kind of reinvesting into bots, and they're going to make the League of Legends bots a better experience. But 99% of us are never going to play bot games, so I just didn't think that's as important. But what we're going to go over is two of them, which is mid-season, just general thoughts, and mythic items in general. And then the second one is all about champions, the roadmap for the upcoming stuff. So we're going to go over both of those things in this video. So let's get into it. So, hi folks, Right Axe's lead gameplay designer, here to talk about the state of the item system and mythic items in League. It's been about 2.5 years since we shipped our current item system, and right now we're charting out its future in the game. I will say, still a lot of people are not a fan of mythics. I'm not massively into them, but I kind of accept them, because what else can you do? But first, let's talk about what led the League current system. So yeah, what actually led it to happen? So I'm sure we went over these, so we won't really... Let's just go over the bullet points, I guess. But for the 2021 update, this is what they focused on to make the mythic system the way it is. So we updated the item shop with a streamlined user experience and greatly improved recommended item page that automatically integrates data from what players are actually building on each champion. Yeah, that was really good. We added mythic items as unique once per player exclusive items that are meant to be purchased first in most games. They're pretty hit or miss, and they make the game quite hard to balance. We carefully built the content of the item system so that every champion would be presented with multiple build options. We wanted to ensure that no mythic item would be above 75% purchase rate, which is still very high, and that there would be at least 10 legendary items per champion with at least 3% purchasable rate. To accomplish this, we targeted approximately 33% new items, 33% changed items, and 34% items retained with minimal change. So let's discuss how it's gone. The item shop. Honestly, the item shop was completely fine. But this one's pretty simple. Let me actually make sure you can read everything along with me. The UI update and recommended item overhaul went very well. There was some initial concern around changing the UI because it's normal to be resistant to change, especially for UI, but it faded quite quickly. Yep. Recommended items saw heavy use right out the gate. We currently see about 68% of players use it as their primary way of navigating items, which is much higher than the old flow. We view this as a good thing while picking up the right item for the game you're in. It's important skill test. Being able to easily access some baseline powerful items makes the game considerably more approachable. And that's one thing that we've always spoken about in League, and everyone has. The learning curve of League is so steep. Giving a recommended item system isn't a bad thing, because the actual gameplay of League is a lot, and players will learn the nuances of what to buy and when as they go. True. The level of success for the recommended item flow did confound some of our other goals. However, considering our initial goal for mythic items was to ensure that no champion picks were more than 75% of the time, this is pretty hard to accomplish when 70% of players are following the recommended item flow. Are they true? So they're saying, considering the recommended items are probably recommending the same items most of the time, when 70% of the players are doing that, it's instantly going to make those items way more popular that it's recommending. True, you don't really think of that, I guess. Making similar decisions within it. We do have some fairly clear evidence that players tend to deviate from normal builds more as they get more practice on champions, which indicates that the recommended items are providing a baseline rather than guiding players on when... Yeah, so the thing that the recommended thing doesn't do, I think it does it to a certain extent, but not massively. Like, I think the way that it works, let's say you're playing Zed, for example, the recommended system, and you're playing against Ahri in mid lane, it will basically look at what Zed players are mainly building against Ahri, but it also looks at other champions that are in the game. So if you ever see like, oh, we recommended you build Duskblade or Drakthar, and then in the item on the shop it has two champions it's good against, it does tend to try and give you items that are good against one or multiple champions that are against you, but it's not amazing at doing that. Like, it's kind of doing it in a blocky kind of way. It's not like a flowy kind of human way of doing it that may be more optimal, but that's what it's not. It's not going to do that. And that is where more experience on champions will aid you on making those decisions instead of just relying on the recommended update. It's, you know, it's simple things of like, you know, if you're playing heavy roam Z, you know, it's not really going to recommend an Umbral Glaive, but it's actually probably a good idea to do that, because then you're roaming, you can get rid of vision, and it's a really cheap early lethality item to help you snowball. So those are the kind of things the recommended item system doesn't do, and that's where you as a player need to see what your play style is and adapt the item path for you. But yeah. So how is it going? So mythic items, what's working? Again, a lot of people aren't a massive fan of them, and some of them are insanely strong, like Heartsteel and Gale Force and stuff, and some of them just seem completely pointless and just weak. And they've had so many problems as certain one of them's. And I'd even say the strength level within Mythics are vastly different. If you compare something like, again, Gale Force or Kraken Slayer compared to Ludens, it's it's huge difference in terms of how useful those items are. It doesn't feel balanced across the board, and I think that's one of the problems with them. So champions have more flexibility in their first legendary plus item purchase than ever before. It is, in fact, more common to see champions deviate in their first item today than it was before Mythics shipped, as we have reason to believe that champions have more flexibility when mastered than we are currently seeing due to recommended item system. However, for some champions item pairings, that is not the case. Kraken Slayer, Luden's Tempest, Divine Sunderer, and Mortal Shield Bow are the 4 most bound items with the highest number of users that purchase them over 85% of the time. It's not too surprising, to be honest. Coolness. We created a number of cool, high affinity items that have resonated with players. Items like Eclipse, Heartsteel, Jackshow, Gale Force, and Updated Rod of Ages have found clear audiences and add a lot to the system. This is a major consideration because, at its heart, League is built around an RPG-like progression loop, and enjoying the power-ups you access is an important part of keeping that loop enjoyable. I don't think many people kind of even think about that play loop, if I'm completely honest, but sure. Approachability. Mythic items provide definition to the system in a way that helps make it more approachable. Decisions in the item system are a bit more digestible. It's easy to understand you need one mythic item, one pair of boots, and whatever legendary suits your needs. And as long as you get to your mythic, you hit a baseline of power that can be easily understood. But that's the thing, you don't need one mythic. There are champions that don't buy mythics, like, or don't even rush them nowhere like near. Like Aurelia doesn't rush a mythic. Cogmore half the time doesn't even buy a mythic. So there are outliers to the rule. Balanceability. So, you know, this is, I would say, the issue. But so far, and I'm not reading this yet, this seems to be a big, like, look at Mythics, they're so good. There's been no, like, oh, there are negatives about them. It's like Riot are trying to sell Mythics to us again. Because, yeah, players are still not, from my experience, talking to Twitch chat, comment section, all that, people aren't sold of them completely still. To me, it actually makes the game more stale, but yeah. So mythic items create an understandable method of creating mutually exclusive items that would otherwise be too powerful or too hard to balance when purchased together. Yet you allow like people to buy Kraken Slayer and Blade of the Ruined King. So that also doesn't make sense. But anyway, there's another reason we're sharing this blog to you. So where can they improve? Okay, here we go. So far everything's been positive. Now, despite those benefits, we agree with many of the complaints you've been having about the mythic item system. We aren't happy with the current state of mythic items. We were wrong about some of our initial goals, and our philosophies around items have evolved as a result. Some of the most important drawbacks of mythics that we've been hearing from you and facing when trying include. So I will just say, this is something that very, very rarely happens. For Riot to go, they're not happy about something because they always try to pretend they're happy about everything. But then also just to say we were wrong. That's really rare. And that, by the way, that's not just a Riot thing. That's a game dev thing. That's a business thing. No business wants to admit that they did wrong or admitted fault. But yeah, so here we go. Satisfaction. Prioritizing optimization and choice over satisfying designs has left a lot of champions needing to buy a relatively less exciting item more often than they get their coolest choice. Morgana and Fiddlesticks always are going to care more about Zhonya's Hourglass than Liandry's. True. The Zhonya active is kit defining for them. In extreme cases, in order to hit goals around item choice, we actually had to delete satisfying items which were too perfect. It's hard to get many enchanters to consider anything but the unholy grail item if it exists in the system. True, that was a great item. Prioritizing the goal of players being able to make choices each game at the cost of items that feel right for champions was the wrong goal. Okay, yeah, sure. Generalist content or content, is that the way they're saying it? Because they need to serve a diverse audience, all AD carries or most fighters early in their builds, Mythic items often provide too many different outputs. Champions need to feel functional very widely, especially early in the game. However, this creates serious game health problems when a single item delivers too strongly into many different ways. Items like Gore Drinker, Old Eclipse, Divine Sunder, Riftmaker, Shield Bow are an uncomfortable balanced position as a result. Yeah, true. You could literally be sucking complete doo-doo, and then you're in top lane or you're in AD carry and you get a Shield Bow or you get Divine Sunder, and everything changes. Like everything. And obviously, like they said earlier, the progression loop of an RPG, you buy an item and yes, you should get increased strength, but some of the mythics have insane levels of strength compared to others that it just changes everything. And that is, again, one of my problems with mythics is the vast difference in strength between even mythic items. Sure, don't compare mythics to legendaries, but compared mythics to mythics, there's a group of like 6 to 8 mythics, I would say, that are vastly better than everything else. But yeah. Complexity. Mythic items tend to be highly complex pattern forming items. This is exemplified by items like Dustblade, Prowlers, and Everfrost. Items that are more pattern warping than we're comfortable with. Creeping complexity and often adding significant frustration. So what do they mean by that? So items by the very baseline, and this is where I think a lot of people also agree, shouldn't add too much to your champion. Like, not in terms of, like, they can add stats, give you stats, they can make you do a bit more damage, or they can make you take less damage. But the 3 items that they just said, Dustblade, Prowlers, Everfrost, they actively add mechanics to your champion. And, like, not just basic mechanics. If you have Dustblade, you're giving stealth to non-stealth champions. Prowlers, you are giving mobility to non-mobile champions, or you're giving extra mobility to already mobile champions, then you really can't get away from that champion. Or Everfrost, you are giving a champion either who doesn't have a lot of CC, you're giving them that CC, or you're giving them an easy to land CC to then follow up with their champion CC, thus making it a bit too frustrating against. I would agree with all those 3. I have heard in the wind that they are actually removing Prowler's Claw. That's the one that I've actually heard the most talk about, that they are actually going to remove that item, which is interesting to me. Content creation. Because mythic items are exclusive with each other, designing new mythic items require us to consider every existing mythic item and their relationship within a complex choice structure. 2.5 years in, the system content isn't really complete, and even when all the baseline content exists, we'll want to be able to add and improve over time. Overall, the mythic items are sacrificing too much quality of the game, and we're planning to act on them. Oh, here we go. So the change is coming. Following MSI, we're rolling out changes. Is there any? No. I was like, is there bullet points? No, there's not. Big text. Thank you very much, Riot. Following MSI, blah, blah, blah. So the larger goal here is to test a version of the system where mythic items are meant to be high power, high satisfaction, capstone effects that define builds, rather than being a set of situational responses to the game you're currently playing. We're specifically looking at changing our philosophy on mythic items for many champs, and are no longer holding mythics to the original 75% purchase rates scrutiny. Okay, so they're fine if, like, 90% of the time a mythic gets built if it's just the better one to go. That's good. We are instead holding higher player satisfaction as the most important value, even if it means a champion builds the same mythics every game. I'd say that's probably fine. Satisfaction should be one of the biggest things. Like, it's a video game, you know, that's the whole point. The largest overall change will be AD carry itemization, as this was the mythic system that was the closest to the structure above. On live, AD carries effectively have 2 parallel mythic builds to follow, so Gale Force, Immortal Shield Bow, Kraken Slayer, and then Infinity Edge, Navori Quickblades, Ginsu, true. This leads to a uniquely constrained set of item builds. We'll be moving to a new model where AD carry mythics are Infinity Edge, Quick Blades, Rage Blade, and Gale Force. Kraken, Slayer, and Shieldbow will be redesigned to fit into legendary items and will be reworking other systems as needed. Okay, very, very quickly that I just have to say, if they are making Kraken into a normal legendary, it means you can buy a mythic legendary, they have to do something about bulk. Or yeah, they have to make it that you only can buy like Kraken or Blade the Ruin King, because you could literally see it now. You could have an AD carry buying Infinity Edge, Kraken Slayer, Blade the Ruin King, all three of those. That would be absolutely mad. Which is obviously they kind of can currently do that, but Infinity Edge will be a mythic. Or you could go Gale Force for the mobility, Kraken Slayer for tank killing, Blade the Ruin King for tank killing. Where's the negative? So like, I do hope they'll do something with that. A couple highlights to watch out for also. Static Shiv will be back in the system with a different stat profile, and Rage Blade is going to look a lot more like its older versions. Oh, cool. Static Shiv's a fun item, so that's good. It does every third auto attack a lightning strike hits, so the faster attack speed you have, the more lightning good damage you're doing. We expect all AD carries to be covered by at least one high satisfaction mythic item with this system, but it's likely that at least some of them will have exactly one optimal mythic. With that said, a surprising number still have multiple mythic options, though they end up using their kits somewhat differently based on what they choose. So very quickly, what would Ezreal choose? Infinity Edge, Quick Blades, Rage Blade, Gale Force. Out of those four mythics, probably Quick Blades. But it's still probably not amazing for like even Ezreal. Draven would be Infinity Edge, I'd imagine. We'll have to see how that goes, but yeah. Besides AD carry, we're also looking at enchanter items and lethality items for mid-season. We're doing a targeted set of changes to lethality space to resolve game health problems with Prowler's Claw and Duskblade Adrakthar. Prowler's Claw will be reworked into a legendary item with a new effect and no dash. Wow. Duskblade will be reworked, and Yumu's Ghostblade will be promoted to a mythic item with upgraded outputs. Enchanters will have a number of items reworked with the primary goal of more satisfying to use, with better build paths and higher satisfaction outputs, including a riff of the Unholy Grail. Okay, everyone's going to just buy if Unholy Grail comes back. So yeah, Prowlers is being changed. So they're not removing it. That's what I heard, but they're basically removing it because the whole point of Prowlers is the dash, and that's going away. I will just say, you know, not as a dig or anything, but that's a massive nerf to full AD Scion, because obviously the nature of full AD Scion, they get someone low being AD, they'll die, and they'll pretty much always get the kill by going in zombie form, Prowlersing, and then getting the kill after. That's going away, so that's actually a really big blow to Scion. That's actually kind of a blow to Renekton as well, because Renekton does the Prowlers build, and that's a blow, another blow to Renekton, so... The future, a major decision in front of us right now. What should we do with mythic items in the long run? We are currently accessing all options, even removing them. Our mid-season changes, especially to the AD carry system, should provide us with a clearer picture of our options to the system, and we're working on our way through a number of other options internally in the meantime. I hope this gives you a sense, blah, blah, blah. So there we go. Not really what I really want is what I would say, but at least we're getting an answer, and they're looking to change, like, they're making satisfaction the higher priority thing. So now, secondly, and I technically could have made this a different video, but we'll just kind of do it a bit quick. So the hunt nears in a sustainable hunger in Noxus and motion artist Skarner, Jax, and more. So this, by the way, is new Jax. He looks really cool. So we'll just kind of go over the basics here. So a lone assassin dies, but the team survives. So Nefari is meant to those. So yeah, this is the latest. Or the new assassin that's coming out. I think it's the dog, by the way. You can see like that's kind of a deer thing, that's kind of the dog. So yeah, it's an assassin. Can't remember what role they're in. Obviously I've not been in the dev meeting yet, but that probably isn't too far away. So a new animal champion coming to the Rift soon. A Noxus champion upcoming. So while working on Nefari, game designer explores a ton of kits. So they felt like they were losing control of Nefari's kit. So they decided to icebox. So basically what it looks like, they were losing control over the assassin. And like probably hilariously giving too many things to a champion. Where have we heard that before? So instead of constantly just adding things and going insane with new champions, they probably took a lot of the ideas that they had and actually were like, wait, this could just be a separate champion. And that looks like what they've done. So that's good. Because all Riot tends to do is put too much in a new champion, it has to get nerfed out, and then it's a bit of a waste. If they actually hold themselves back, a lot of new champions have way too much stuff, hold themselves back, put it in a different champion, it's a lot healthier. So the excess, I would say, in Nefari's kit is now being put into a diver skirmisher rather than an assassin's. So there we go. It's going to be a Noxus champion. We don't know too much about it, but it's uncontrollable hunger. So kind of like a glutton character, gluttony. So that will be kind of cool. We're getting a new artist from Ionia champion. Skarner, I do know by this, by the way, he is being delayed again. And then Jax, very cool. Obviously getting his bit of an update himself. So he'll be shipping in the upcoming, or hopefully this year. So he's getting a new model, animation, VO, FFX, and some of his splash art will catch up also. And we decided against giving Jax a real weapon. That's good. So he'll have an amplified, so we amplified his weapon of importance. So that's pretty cool. And then that's the end of the map. So I just wanted to go over that very quickly. Again, Riot doesn't really give much out in these at all. But yeah, the next champion is an assassin. Presuming jungler, by the way, is if I had to guess, but I'm not 100% right now. But there we go. That's going to be it. If you guys enjoyed this little Riot dev update video, please do throw a like on it, throw a comment, throw a subscribe. Let me know what you think down below, and I'll try to respond to some people. And I'll see you guys next time. Goodbye.
Call down the reckoning to bring back hope and peace. Restore our glory to live forever. Bring down the dark regime. I know how to unleash eternal power.